Anybody ever feel like this? Oh my gosh. I actually heard John laugh from the other room. Oh my gosh. I believe I got this from Charlotte and Gottie's Facebook page. I thought this was just fabulous. I suppose it's a hat, right? Yeah. Let's all make hats. Also, I'd forgotten I'd even gotten the crazy lady wonderful hat person. But then I saw this on Charlotte's Facebook too. She has some really nice things she puts on. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I could live there quite easily. And I wonder if those stones are painted or what. I'll bet they are. Just beautiful. So Charlotte, keep adding, right? Easter bonnet, Carol says. Yes. One more look for those of you that are late. Oh, God. Ah, that's how I feel. And then Susan Skill says, I don't know where you get all these button things, but yet another one. We need some happiness this morning, right? Totally. And then I had the wonderful opportunity to speak via Zoom, Northern Star Quilts Guild last week. And on Thursday, we did a 3-hour Zoom class on faces. So I encouraged them to send, and they did. So this is Rona's. I love how the feathers are like that, that she used the, fabric and then the little bird brain, frog on the throat. Happiness, people, happiness. Okay, here's another one. And then Meryl, it was so funny because, people were instructed to have a background done before, and some didn't matter. But I'm sorry, Meryl was a little bit like, "Oh gosh, I don't know if it's gonna work." Oh yeah, it worked. It worked. And then Carol sent this one. I appreciate the border here. I've never seen anything like that. I think that this is a pretty Northern Star Quilters Guild in New York is a pretty talented group. That's what I could assess from this workshop. One of them that I just showed, I don't know if it was Rona's, Meryl's, or Carol's. Rona, Meryl, Carol. That wasn't anything they'd ordinary do, and then but they didn't want another unfinished project. And then another one said, "I'm going to do this again." So here is okay. No, this is no more waffles. This was made for a Hoffman challenge, all right? And it's from it was a book challenge. And she made it, and we've been going back and forth, and it became she realized that she couldn't put it in the challenge because it was too fragile of a piece. I appreciate that. I appreciate that totally. But it's taking off on other journeys to share, which I adore. It's going to be, of course, in a local quilt shop and the library. And then there's a fine art show where it's going to go in. So people are going to get to see this. And she titled this particular piece, The Book Tree. Nice. Nice. My daughter would love it too. And then last but not least, before we get into this today, and I'll tell you what we're doing. Um, I adore Katie Pasquini. And if you've not seen her legend show, I can commission you to go watch it. And she's been on other times too. But look at what she's just done. Man, that sings to me like no end. So, Katie lady, thank you for putting it on your Facebook page so that everybody could enjoy it. This just really, really strikes me. Okay, so here's what's happening today. We have a double header. So what we're gonna do first is Lilo caught up with Veruschka Zarate, who won Best of Show at QuiltCon, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already, but this is quite an extraordinary piece. And I was like, okay, now to me it was like, huh, QuiltCon, huh, okay, and then but then look at this, the backside of it. And I think that part is a lot of people aren't seeing. Although I wasn't there, I don't know how it was displayed. They had to show both. But again, she caught up with Veruschka. But we might run a little late today because this weekend I had the extraordinary opportunity to go to MoMA. And I'll talk about that. And then I found I was putting together that half of the show, and I realized that the display is going to be gone in a week. So I wanted to make sure that if you're in the Bay Area, you don't miss it. And I'll get into that more. I found an extraordinary, like a 10-15 minute interview on PBS with Amy Sherald. And Amy Sherald is the one that did the Michelle Obama G's Ben portrait. Yes. So we have a double header today. Okay. But a little bit more about Veruschka. Let's take a look at this particular piece of hers. She is foundation paper piecing. Okay, she does that. And so this is the girl that was the girl with the pearl earring. Oh, I believe this is a pattern of hers too. And then this is Pride and Joy. And it took first place in piecing and People's Choice at the Modern Quilt Guild in 2022. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those boys when this whole thing is over. Great story behind it. All right. And then this is Joan of Arc. Oh, my word, my word, my word. It got an award from NACQJ, which is the National Association of Certified Judges, and it got an award merit for outstanding excellence in quilt making. But okay, so that's quite an image that it was like in your brain. It's kind of interesting too, because this is kind of like Amy Sherald's work. But then let's take a look at her face. Yeah, I didn't quite see that, okay? I didn't quite see that with the full on. So let's go to see what Lilo had up her sleeves with her. QuiltCon 2025.
Veruschka Zarate of Pride and Joy Quilting.
In case anybody doesn't know yet, you have a quilt that apparently people are flocking to. Tell us about that quilt and what happened.
My quilt named Dignity, based on the artist laureate D.C. Lanfear's statue called Dignity, which is in South Dakota. I reached out to him in 2020, which was almost 5 years ago, Lilo, to ask for permission if I could make a quilt, and he graciously granted me permission to make it. That was 2020. And over the years, life happens, but I was able to finish piecing the front. And after I pieced the front, I thought, well, I need to piece the back as well, right? To tell the full story of this incredible statue of Dale Lanfear's Dignity statue. And so I pieced the front, I pieced the back. That was a whole experience, then lining it up and submitted it to the MQG's QuiltCon, and it won Best of Show, which is wild.
What a huge tribute to, number one, your work, the skill, and then just the beauty of the piece itself.
Thank you.
And so, because this is a project that you've been working on for a number of years, what is it like for you to see the fruition of what you just were attracted to initially as a piece of artwork to now the moment of winning in this Best of Show?
It's very meaningful when you find a piece that inspires you at a certain chapter in your life, I was very drawn to this idea of, number one, it being a native indigenous Lakota woman who, she's 50 foot tall. I mean, stainless steel, glass, part of the quilt is made out of glass. And it was very meaningful to me, the symbolism of Lamphere calling the statue dignity. And for me, this term dignity really talks about the inherent value, respect that every human being and even the earth has in its inherentness, if you will. And for me at the time, I had a parent who was suffering with cancer, and he was in the last stages. And when you see a parent go from being larger than life to skin and bones, the idea of dignity comes up a lot, right? How does someone maintain their sense of value and worth when they are, in essence, disappearing? And in the simplest form, dignity can be found in simply clothing yourself, right? In clothing yourself in something that feels, that honors who you are as a person. And it was not lost to me that the statue of a Lakota woman about to embrace herself in a quilt, wrap herself in a quilt, is called dignity. And that symbolism of wrapping yourself in a quilt is the embodiment of dignity. Hit me like a ton of bricks. And I don't know if Lamphere meant that correlation, or if it was more of she as a Lakota woman, as really a woman of the earth, standing as a sentinel, reminding the whole earth to treat each other and the earth with dignity and value. But to me, it hit me as a grieving daughter, right? And the power and symbolism that quilts can remind us of our inherent value as human beings. Right. And so that's where it hit me as a person. And so making it, and then having others resonate with it, and everyone resonates with it at a different, with different tones and different connections, but it's deeply fulfilling as a person to make something and see others
respond to it. Yeah, absolutely. And the last time we met was, I believe, your first time at QuiltCon. And so
or ever in any quilt show.
Or ever. And we have kind of watched your journey as a quilter. And you know, you include your children in this. And so tell us about this journey of, was this your vision of what you were going to do?
No. And never in a million years did I think quilting would become what it has in my life. Quilting for me was truly a source of self-healing, and oftentimes I would feel like there was a lot of pouring out that was happening in my life, but very little was being poured back in. Mm-hmm. And in a very unexpected way, quilting became that. Even though I had dabbled in many different creative mediums, as we do as artists, we try something out, it kind of doesn't fit me, and we dabble and dabble and dabble. But once I found quilting, I fell in love with every single part of it. I felt in love with the use of our hands, with the design, with the community that is around quilting. And I think for me, a lesson that I've learned in this journey has been to try to be as true as I am to my personhood, and then life will bring what it needs to.
Right.
And so, no, I never in a million years thought I'd be talking to you 2020. 2022, was it?
I think it was 2022.
Yeah, it was the first time I had submitted a quilt.
Right, you were just here the first time.
Yeah, and I think for me, if I submit something, it has to be profoundly meaningful. It's not like I make 10 and submit 10 and see. For me, it's, do I have something that embodies who I am that I can show, and perhaps other people will connect it. So having done that, seeing that people responded was quite a lovely experience too. And then, yeah, last night was quite meaningful.
Yeah, and I have to hats off to you. You knit this sweater last night
No, I
before
did
you
not.
came here. It's because it coordinates so
It
well
coordinates
with
with my quilt, though.
your quilt. Yes. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
A big honor to you, and
Thank you.
you definitely deserve it. It's a fantastic quilt. And we are so glad that you made time for us to be able to chat with you.
The honor is
today.
completely mine.
Yeah, it's a delight again to see you. And we'll keep following you, see what's happening next around the corner.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening next. I have no idea.
I love that interview. And I've, of course, watched it before this. And while I'm sitting here going into now, we're having intermission and then we're going to go into part B. These two things dovetail beautifully. But I want to tell you this, that Veruschka does do workshops. She does teach online. She is all over the place. And I just think she would be delightful to spend time with. I don't think I've met her in person, but okay. So let's talk about her kids. Look, they're growing up and they're holding the ribbon. And they, they told their mom that she was going to win. She's like, "No, I'm not." They said, "No, you are going to win." And basically said, "If you win," well, remember last night at the Academy Awards or the guy or the Oscars, whatever we were watching, where the husband said to the wife, "If I win, will you give me a fourth child?" She's like, "Oh God," because she said I wouldn't win. Well, her kids said, "If you win, will you get us a puppy?" Yes. I hope the puppy's name is Dignity. There's the friend again. Okay, moving to part B. Again, I went to MoMA this weekend. For those of you that have just logged on, the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco, and it was because I heard rumor that this was there. And it was kind of an unwritten bucket list that I wanted to see this in person. It's Amy Sherrill, and my daughter goes to me, she goes, "Mom, I don't even really like art." And she said, this almost knocked her to her knees. And if you don't know, she was inspired by the G's Ben's quilt. So that was the undertone of this. And I think her work is quite staggering. And so when I heard that, after seeing it, you know. So I started to put together a show here for you. And then again, as I said earlier, I stumbled on this piece that PBS put out, and it's on YouTube. So if you want to show it to somebody else, please do, because we saw a movie similar to this at the museum. You know how they usually have like a 10-minute reel or something like that? And it put the whole thing together. So here we are. We're there. My girlfriend Karen and I went. had a blast. And now I'm going to do the thing that always makes me nervous as anything, and that's share my screen. But it's going to be so worth it. So worth it. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm there.
But much of Amy Sherald's work is about filling in absent images of everyday Americans. Senior arts correspondent Jeffrey Brown talks with the artist and takes us to the first major exhibition covering her career for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
They look at us, and we at them. A young woman in a pink blouse with a bow. A young man in stars and stripes and cowboy hat. Paintings hung a little lower than usual, says artist Amy
What, honey? Oh, so I'm
Sherald,
okay?
directly at eye level.
My figures are present. They're not passively painted. These aren't passive portraits. They are standing there ready to be gazed upon, but also to gaze back at you. And in that interaction.
Okay, let me go back. John, I guess I'm screwed up here. Come here. Yeah, I did. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm on that page. All right. And now I'm going to push play again. Yeah.
Breonna Taylor. But much of Amy Sherald's work is about filling in absent images of everyday Americans. Senior arts correspondent Jeffrey Brown talks with the artist and takes us to the first major exhibition covering her career for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
They look at us, and we at them. A young woman in a pink blouse with a bow. A young man in stars and stripes and cowboy hat. Paintings hung a little lower than usual, says artist Amy Sherald, directly at eye level.
My figures are present. They're not passively painted. These aren't passive portraits. They are standing there ready to be gazed upon, but also to gaze back at you. And in that interaction, I think we should find our humanity in each other.
The first major survey of Sherald's work is now at the San Francisco Museum.
Okay, let me go to my live.
Okay.
Hold on. Apparently, it's screwing up. Okay, John, what do you want me to do?
Okay. It's showing it.
I'm going to here. Oh, you guys, I'm going to be sick if we can't figure this out. So I go there, share screen, right?
Okay. That's what it's showing.
Oh, how weird.
Okay, so you need to go to Firefox. There it is. Start it over.
Okay, let's try again.
Let me go. Okay, go ahead and play it.
Sherald's work
Takes 5
is
seconds.
about filling in absent images of everyday Americans. Senior arts correspondent Jeffrey Brown talks with the artist and takes us to the first major exhibition covering her career for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
They look at us, and we at them. A young woman in a pink blouse with a bow. A young man in stars and stripes and cowboy hat.
Oh, dear.
Paintings hung a little lower than usual, says artist Amy Sherald, directly at eye level.
My figures are present. They're not.
Okay, you guys, I don't know what's going on here, and this makes me sick to my stomach.
Address, and we'll just put it on Google.
Yeah, like how weird is this?
Okay, can you copy the address and put it there?
Hang on, everybody. I'm doing the best I can.
Now go to Google. No, you're in there. Go to Google.
Put it there?
No, Google.
Where's Google? Oh, right there.
No. You don't want that.
I can hear you if you're whispering. Let's try this one.
Okay, now.
Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. Okay, enter. Return.
She has painted portraits of Michelle Obama and Breonna Taylor, but much of Amy Sherald's work is about filling in absent images of everyday Americans. Senior arts correspondent Jeffrey Brown talks with the artist
We'll get there,
and
everybody.
takes us to the first major exhibition covering her career for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
They look at us, and we at them. A young woman in a pink blouse with a bow. A young man in stars and stripes and cowboy hat. Paintings hung a little lower than usual, says artist Amy Sherrill, directly at eye level.
My figures are present. They're not passively painted. These aren't passive portraits. They are standing there ready to be gazed upon, but also to gaze back at you. And in that interaction, I think we should find our humanity in each other.
The first major survey of Sherrill's work is now at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. Some show scenes at the beach or the playground. Most are individuals in brightly colored clothing set against equally vivid backgrounds. Sherrill titled the exhibition American Sublime. This word sublime.
Yes,
What is
excellence.
Excellence.
Yes, the excellence of what it is to be an everyday American. The people that make the world go round. All of these individuals that are in my portraits stand up as archetypes for that, because we can think about all of the big names in the big H of history, but the little h is what really makes everything, everything.
We met Sherrill recently at her studio in Jersey City, New Jersey, just across the river from New York. Here she mixes her paints to concoct her own signature varieties of color.
So this is my happy place back here.
All kept in a storage space ready for use.
This is also one of my favorite colors here.
What is it?
It's called Eat Your Veggies, and it's a mint green.
Oh, so you not only make them, but you, of course, get to name them.
Yes,
I see.
that's the fun part.
And here's where she's created the works that have brought much renown. Most prominently, her portrait of Michelle Obama, captured in a moment of quiet contemplation rather than official pose, the first black First Lady painted by the first black woman to receive such a commission. And of Breonna Taylor, the medical worker shot and killed by Louisville police in 2020 in a botched raid on her apartment.
What I wanted to bring out in that portrait was that she was an everyday American girl. She was just living her life in the pursuit of the American dream like everybody else.
In fact, most of Sherrill's work is of everyday people, and though they can be called portraits, they're not intended as portraits of the specific individual she's painting. Rather, they're characters she's imagining into existence, Black Americans rarely the subjects of portrait painting. You referred to them as archetypes. I mean, these are real people, but you're not painting them as themselves.
No, because of that absence, like they have to represent so much more than themselves.
They have to.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they have to. The girl next door, the farmer, for example, they're standing in history to represent the stories of those that came before them and the stories of those that will come after them.
You refer to yourself as an American realist.
Yeah, for me, I was doing what American realists were doing, what Andy Wyeth does, what Edward Hopper was doing. I'm painting everyday American moments, and within that, there is the Black American identity.
Which is not there for the most part.
Which is not there for the most part, you know? So the work does sit within art history as a corrective narrative, but it also sits in history as a celebration.
Like a film director, Sherrill casts people. Some she meets in life, some from casting agencies, and dresses them in clothes she collects.
This is my costume section. These are items that I've either used in paintings or I potentially will use.
She found this dress on eBay.
I like the flowers, I like the color, I like the story that it could possibly tell.
The story it could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clothes tell a story in the painting as well as the person.
In several paintings, Sherrill also made her own versions of iconic photographs, including Alfred Eisenstadt's VJ Day kiss in Times Square from 1945. Now, two black men in a work titled For Love and for the Country. Everywhere, including backgrounds, rich colors. Note especially the skin tones, which she starts from shades of gray.
When I'm mixing the color of the complexion It varies between like a darker gray to a lighter gray if it's like a lighter skinned person like myself. I use warm colors like Old Holland Yellow Light, and I mix that with the black so that it gives the skin warmth, and I think that's why the skin kind of like glows and resonates as being alive.
The result of all her aesthetic choices, recognizably Black people, but in a subtle, though for her crucial way, portraits that are not about race first.
Maybe we don't have to start there. Let's start with my humanity first. There's one of a girl with a red wig. She's kind of like a grunge girl. Like that was me when I was 22. I saw her, but she inspired me to paint her because she was living in her full authentic self. And I think that's what's really important. And so that's the universalism of it. It's like people should be able to look at someone that may not look like them, but also feel their humanity at the same time.
Amy Sherald's exhibition, American Sublime, is at San Francisco's Museum of Modern Art through March 9th, before moving to New York's Whitney Museum and later the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in Jersey City, New Jersey.
I'm telling you, if you live in the area, it was an extraordinary exhibit. That's what I'm going to say. Extraordinary. And John said, we have to find out where it's going next. Well, it's going to the East Coast. So if you live there, I would commission you to go there. One thing that I think is kind of interesting is that, okay, in San Francisco, we have the DeYoung, we have MoMA, we got a ton of different museums and venues for art. And so my friend went up to one of the people and said, how did MoMA get this? Because this could easily have been in any of the museums, easily. And they said, well, first of all, remember the Obama portrait where he's like in a bunch of bushes or green or something? That I think was at the DeYoung, because that's a different artist who painted that. And and so that they wanted to make sure that was equitable. But on top of that, Amy wanted to be in MoMA. So she got it. The other thing is that apparently it was the Obama outfit, Michelle's portrait, that really got her on the map. But for as much as I can figure, she's been painting for about 20 years, and her family really wanted her to be a doctor or a lawyer. So she followed her passion and she did it. Now, if you go to MoMA, on the first floor, there's a great little cafeteria restaurant. And Karen and I went there and, oh my gosh, macaroni and cheese and crab. Ah! So, trying to think what else. How did I find out about this? In my exercise class, my post-cancer class, this a wonderful woman named Cindy sits next to me, and she goes, "Oh, we went to MoMA." She said, "Oh, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go." And I almost didn't go. And I'm so glad I did, because I did have that painting on my bucket list to see in person. And I'm going to tell you, there were other ones there that were equally as staggering, if not even more. Ha! So I hope you've enjoyed today. And oh, one other thing, Barbara Black was having technical problems on Friday. So John suggested that she do a pre-record then, which she did. And John has posted it on the site. And it's about, March, our block of the month, how she's shepherding us through the whole thing. So thank you for watching. I think next Monday is Lilo caught up with how they judge at QuiltCon, how they judge. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting, because I think it's not like how AQS or Houston or Mancuso or whomever does it. So I think that'll be interesting. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope these two things have inspired you as they have inspired me. And remember, check out Veruschka Zarate, see if you can get her to your guild, a Sillamar, whatever. She's just great. So have a good one.